Hey guys, my name is Tossilog, and today I'll be talking to you about the argumentative essay. Now, just a quick overview of the argumentative essay. It's a This essay is a way to persuade, kind of convince your audience or to whoever you're talking to, into understanding your viewpoint on a certain topic or item in which you believe in. So, when you're writing this argumentative essay, it's important that you provide the facts, and these facts are important because they support your claim. The claims lure your audience into siding with you, which is why facts are really important. Another note, this essay covers both sides of the argument. So in an argumentative essay, it talks about you're going to be talking about why someone should believe or shouldn't believe something, and then you're also going to be addressing the other side. So both arguments, both sides of the arguments. Why should you practice the argumentative essay? I know teens these days we don't really like writing at all, but it's actually pretty important that we start practicing how to write argumentative essays. So, because it enhances our abilities to engage in mannerly arguments. So, this is face to face contact. We're going to be arguing in the real world someday, and it's important that we know how to defend ourselves and stand our ground. So, that means by providing evidence that supports our claims, that influences people to side with us. Once again, it's easier to convince people in siding with you. So when you keep practicing it over and over and over again, you're going to get used to it, and then eventually it's going to adapt into your everyday routine. So when you're talking to someone, it's easy for you to convince them to do something for you or to side with you on a certain issue. The last one is a given. Writing the argumentative essay prepares you for life after high school. So this is true because after high school we are all going to go on to our different endeavors, and eventually we are going to be encountered with some arguments or some things or situations that in which we may disagree on or agree with, which is why it's important for us to start practicing the argumentative essay so that we can support our side of the story. Now, going right into it, analyzing the prompt. So the prompt we have is for common sense. Can common sense be trusted and accepted, or should it be questioned? And for this essay, I believe I chose that it should be questioned, not and should not be trusted. Now, diving right in, I'm going to be talking about writing the introduction paragraph. So the introduction paragraph is pretty self-explanatory. It's your intro. It's the first paragraph that is going to be written on your essay. So this includes your attention grabber, the background information, and then finally your thesis statement. So your attention grabber can range from quotes to a funny sentence or something scary that lures the readers into wanting to read your essay. Background information is just some little information that gives the audience a glimpse of what you're going to be talking about and what side you are on of the argument. And then your thesis statement is the claim you're going to be stating the claims and that you will be using in order to agree with something or disagree with something. So in this case, your thesis statement would be providing claims to state why common sense should not be trusted. Now this is an example of how not to write an introduction paragraph. So first off, he starts with common sense is not good because I believe that it will always lead people into making mistakes. So this is the attention grabber, and right off the bat, he uses I. So it's when you're writing an argumentative essay, you don't want to use first person point of view because you're trying to eliminate any type of bias or opinions that you may have. So the argumentative essay will be really, really strong if you use a lot of facts, and that's what's going to persuade the audience into siding with you. So just change this into a third person. Um, Not good. Lead people into making mistakes. Now, since I believe that common sense leads people into mistakes, it should not be trusted. Why? He lacks the writer lacks the background information, so the readers don't really know why he doesn't side with common sense. They don't know what common sense is, first of all, or not all people know what common sense is what I'm trying to say. So his thesis statement, he goes right into it. Since I believe, so again, first person got changed down to third. Common sense leads people into making mistakes. It should not be trusted. So this is a claim because it leads people into making mistakes, which is why it should not be trusted. Now this is how you properly compose an introduction paragraph. From point A to point B, this is the attention grabber. So I use a quote from Dr. Jim Taylor stating why common sense isn't real sense if we define it. It's just people relying on their experiences. Now, furthermore, go on to talk about what it is, common sense, and then I also use an example, kind of to show the readers a little easier way of interpreting what common sense is. And then lastly, I close off the introduction paragraph with the thesis statement. So common sense should not be trusted and instead be questioned because of one's opinions, past experiences, and one's quick judgment. So those are the claims that I will be using in order to prove that common sense should not be trusted. Now moving on to the supporting body paragraph. Supporting body graph contains topic sentence, supporting details, the example, connection, and concluding sentence. So let's dive right into it. This is how not to write the body paragraph. So from point A to point B, he states, I believe common sense is bad because it leads people to making simple mistakes. So that's the topic sentence. Right off the bat, you shouldn't be using first person point of view. When people follow their common sense, it leads them into making poor decisions, which can lead to mistakes. How? He needs to elaborate more on the supporting detail on what happens when people follow their common sense. Why do they make poor mistakes? So you gotta elaborate on that. Now he uses the example, I see a woman who has a large stomach and congratulate her on being pregnant. Now, okay. Because the woman is not pregnant, I made a mistake listening to my common sense, which could have offended her. Okay. And common sense is bad because it can persuade people into making mistakes, which is why it should not be trusted. How does it persuade people into making mistakes? These are all questions you need to be you need to make your essay as explicit as possible. Put in all the facts so that the readers can understand it. Because although you may know what you are talking about, the readers do not. So you just have to put it out there for them to read it and understand it. Another note, the example could be a little longer, I believe. Just why congratulating a woman that she's pregnant was common sense. Moving on, this is how to properly write the body paragraph. So, topic sentence right here. Common sense is anything but sensible. Why? It is the very first judgment or conclusion that comes to one's mind. So that's the supporting details. Why? Why is it the first judgment? Because it can be very unreliable as there's no thought process behind it. So you see how he explains it. He explains why it's the very first judgment, which can be unreliable. So that's the supporting details. He provides an example as a quote. He then relates the quote back to the topic sentence, saying how people should agree with Einstein's perspective because it's biased assumptions based on one's experiences. So no factual evidence, it's just based on experience. Then he concludes it by stating, common sense is basically his word against her word. No facts, just bias, which is why common sense should be questioned and not be trusted. Writing the refutation paragraph. Now, parts of the refutation paragraph include the concession. That's basically you're going to be addressing one claim or a few claims that the other side may have. Because once again, in an argumentative essay, you're talking about both sides of the argument. So this is the portion where you talk about that other side. Now you're going to refute that other claim, the claim on the opposing side, and then you're going to support why they are wrong. Now let's dig into it. This is how not to write the refutation paragraph. People may say that I am wrong, however, they are wrong. Okay, first of all, who is they, and why do they think you're wrong, and why are they wrong? So this is very weirdly worded, very vague. So in a concession, you're supposed to be very specific. You're supposed to elicit the claim of an opposing side. And this person did not do that, so he's going to have to change it. Common sense leads everybody into making mistakes, which is why it can be trusted. How? So this is him trying to support his refutation, but he's lacking a lot of. It's not as specific as it should be. So you need to talk about why would it lead people into making mistakes and why it shouldn't be trusted. These people are wrong because common sense lacks facts. How? How does common sense lack facts? People need facts in their everyday lives, which is why common sense can be trusted. Why? Why do people need facts in their everyday lives? These are all questions that need to be answered so that the readers understand where you're coming from. This is the refutation paragraph should not be taken lightly at all. This is the one paragraph where you're really going to have to try to convince the audience to side with you because you're bringing up a claim that counter argues all of your claims in the essay. So you have to be very specific and you have to research on why their claim is wrong and yours is right. That's why facts is very important. Now moving on, this is how to properly write the refutation paragraph. Now there may be some people in this world who disagree and believe that common sense should be trusted. Okay, so there are some people who believe that it should be trusted. What's the claim? They may believe that common sense allows one to get out of tough situations as it serves as a split-second decision. Okay, so that's the claim. It allows one to get out of tough situations due to it being a split-second decision. Now it gives a little example of what the other side may think. For example, a person getting sucked into a riptide and it's common sense to swim to shore. Now this is when you start refuting that paragraph. However, because the person acts on this quick decision, they do not get to think their actions through and ultimately decrease their chance of surviving. Now you talk about it more, and then this is basically the refutation. This is the support to your refutation. I was saying why common sense doesn't get one out of tough situations because it lacks thought process, which could get them into deeper trouble than they're already in. Now, lastly, you're going to conclude. So, common sense does not benefit people in the way one may think it does, which is why common sense needs to be questioned, not trusted. So, you see the difference between the first one and this one. This is more detailed, more explicit, and it gives the audience enough reasoning to side with them over the opposing side's argument. Moving on, right in the conclusion paragraph. Now, this is the easiest paragraph in the essay. You are basically wrapping everything up. You're restating your thesis, summary of the main points, and then you're going to close your essay off. Now, let's dive right in. How not to write the conclusion paragraph. So, in conclusion, common sense should not be trusted. Okay, he's restating his thesis. I believe that it leads people into making poor choices, which can be very dangerous in the real world. People may disagree with my point of view. Wait, how can it be very dangerous in the real world? People may disagree with my point of view, but they are mistaken. Once again, first person point of view, you want to limit. Actually, you don't want to use it at all. Stick to third person point of view because you want to remove as much bias as possible and stick to the facts. So people may disagree with my point of view, but they are mistaken. I guess this person is trying to bring in the refutation part, the opposing claim, but it is very vague. So there's no information on what why the other side thinks that he's wrong, and there's no support from his side on why the opposing side is mistaken. We all need facts to operate in our everyday lives, and common sense is the exact opposite of that. Common sense should not be trusted. Moving on, this is how to properly write the conclusion paragraph. In conclusion, makes the most sense not to act on common sense. So you see the wordplay there. The problem with common sense is that it is mostly formed by a person's experience and bias, which can cloud one's judgment. Common sense lacks the intelligence and thought process needed in order to create rational decisions, which is why it shouldn't be trusted. See, so it's giving the evidence on why common sense shouldn't be trusted. So he brings in the refutation here, and then he backs up the refutation here with the support. Now the call to action: common sense is a very unsteady road, which is why it should be questioned and not trusted. And that's about it. Thank you.